Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the Bill and Ray Show. Thanks for stopping by. I'm out in the torch shop to make another marble today, and I'm going to do kind of a build-up that I've done before, but I'm going to do a little different setup. So we got a couple canes that I need to make first. Get fired up. And we're going to do a simple silver fume piece, which is probably similar to one I just did the other day. So I need to warm up a couple inches of 8mm here to start as my base. Okie dokie. Get some nice silver fume on there. Hit this with a little bit of heat. And we need to trap that in with clear. So just bring this clear glass down one pass after another, just rubbing up against the last one. I kind of think of that torch flame as hitting right into that corner where it's touching down, but mostly focused on the feed stock that you're laying down. Yeah, my main issue today was I had too many different ideas. So see if we can narrow this down. So we're going to start heating up in the middle. We need a handle on here. So we're trying to push any little bit of air trap out to the end. I'll do a little squishy push-pull, kind of massage that glass out on the end. And back over to the other side. See one bubble all the way out at the end, that's where you want it. Let's see, switch sides here. This looks like this side I can pull out. So I want to have a thick fume stringer. And you come out to this end and cut this off. Alright, that's one piece of prep. Alright, the other one I'm going to do, I'm going to try this Chinese yellow that I got the other day, trying to find different uses for it, so I'm going to do a little cane with this as the base. And I want to pick up some frit. I'll put my foil down here. See if I can manage to not burn myself and not make a mess like I did last time. So I had this idea of trapping frit onto the base, covering it with clear and pulling that out. It's kind of a different way of applying frit. Let's see if I can get this hot enough to pick up some frit. I'm going to have to keep heating and playing around with this a little. So I don't want a solid layer, but I do want enough to work with and show up some kind of effect. Alright, that's all I'm going to do with this one. Alright, see if I can get this melted in. Okay, well, a little handle here to help heat up this last little piece on this end. Get another little section of this clear to coat this with. So this is kind of an experiment. I don't know how this is going to pan out. Just thought I'd try something a little different than just having a clear base. So this is going to be in the background. That's a situation where the bubble got trapped in there. So I'll try and pull that out of there. Okay. I'm gonna work out the other end. Okay, well, that's what we're going to work with. I got to think about how much I want this pulled out, because I'm going to use this in the background. I just need a few little wraps with this. I'll give this a little bit of a twist. Sometimes they're trying try and visualize. People always ask, it's like, do you know how the marble's going to turn out when you start? And that's pretty much not a realistic view. Some things I know more or less how it's going to turn out, and I pick out the colors ahead of time, and I come up with a scheme of techniques. So some designs are more predictable than others. You're trying to kind of maintain a visualization of where you're headed with this. This can be a little challenging. Alright, so what I want is to cut this up into little pieces. So I had some fumed cane from a couple weeks ago, whatever. So I'm going to use that with some of this. So I got a mark on my marver here. I guess I don't want that on. It's going to be a little dicey. So I'm going to use my tile nippers and my mark to kind of make some consistent length pieces there. So, but the main thing we want to do is the piece we just finished. And there's a bit of a method to my madness. With these cut ends, rather than trying to apply it directly. For one, these will be somewhat more consistent pieces than if I just applied it directly with the rod. And the cut ends may create some other interesting effects too. I'm trying to think, it's like, what am I going to use for a container here? Maybe I'll leave that one on. So I have some of these little aluminum dishes. I'm not even sure where these came from. Little mini pie plate sort of things. I thought, well, that'll work. And then hopefully these tweezers will grab this stuff. With my barbecue tongs here. I think we're all ready to get into the large rod that we're going to get a gather built up on. A little scatterbrain with different ideas today. I kept having different ideas of what I was going to do in the background. I've had the idea of what I'm going to do in the core with these pieces. But I kept coming up with different concepts for the background. So that's one thing that's kind of fun about having all these videos that I've done, so I can go back and look at something from a couple months ago and wow, what did I do there? I go into the video and I can figure out pretty well exactly what I did, what colors I used. So some of this series becomes a library for me to keep of different ideas. So I'm kind of at a phase now where I'm kind of wanting to dive into things I've already done, basically, but figure out a little different way of doing it. Or some kind of a combination I haven't done before. So this gather is going to be kind of the core. Oh gosh, hope everyone is doing well. It's fall here in the Bitterroot. We've had some rain, much needed rain, some cooler temperatures. Had a little bit more rain last night. But yesterday, during the day, it was pretty dry and pretty breezy, so things were pretty nice. The sun was in and out of clouds. But I decided might be my last trip around with the mower. It's kind of patchy at this stage of the year, but try and get things cleaned up. There's still lots of leaves that are going to fall, but part of mowing is mulching and blowing leaves around. We don't bag here. We don't. It's just a mulching mower blade. You get what you get. Not much of the yard is really a formal lawn. The backside facing Bitterroots is a bit more solid grass, but even there it's a lot of different things growing in there. Okay, just continuing to kind of build this up. Doesn't look like it's going anywhere, but that's because I keep rotating it. If I stop rotating, it'll droop. Okay, now we need to get this to cool off just a moment before we start adding our decorations. So we'll start out in the middle here, sort of. Make it into the trash heap. Okay, then all these pieces. I'll try and heat up and tag it down. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see. I'll do this. Oops. Okay, I'm going to warm things up. Not too much. Okay, I want these guys to be warmed up because I'm going to do some gold fuming here. Get some gold fume on all this stuff. Alright, from here we're going to condense this down, and this will be kind of the crazy part. So I want these to just kind of create some organic noodly loops. Now in this process, a lot of the gold that I laid down last will burn out on the outside, so it's just the surfaces that are on the inside are trapped together now is where the gold fume is going to hang out. So I'm holding this up at a steep angle and letting that kind of pull away. Now we can let it kind of fall back. These different angles, trying to be more on the level, but heating the very end. And some of these contortions are an attempt to push the air out. There may still be significant bubbles trapped in there. I think there's probably at least one good-sized bubble in there, and that'll just be part of the pattern. Okay, now let it fall back. And we'll start shaping it up into our vortex cone. going to wet the graphite paddle to make it as slippery as possible. I don't really want to twist this, I just want to shape it. Okay, now this piece that I made, I'll put some of this down. I didn't go down it too evenly, but add a couple more little accents in here. Alright, so far so good. Trying to get this to condense in, and it will also kind of affect the dimensional characteristics inside, where those high and low places level out the interior. It's not always very obvious, but it does add character to the interior. Have some dimensional texture. Definitely things I do in the process of building the marble that don't necessarily show up much in the finished product, but I have to believe it would not be the same. It would be somehow different if I didn't do these little steps. And then we're going to do some frit. I think I've got some lapis. This good and hot. I sort of have that angled part of the cone set straight onto the torch flame. Making sense? So you get some heat going all the way across that face. Okay, I need to put this frit away. And then we're going to do black frit. Now this one is a little different. I want lots of black frit. So we'll do this in little sections. So this is basically just building up a fairly solid background. I'm not going to keep working this until it's completely covered, but you get pretty much the sense of a layer of black in the background. a lot of times with frit I let it melt in on its own. I'm kind of marvering this in to squish it around and create more of a layer. Okay, that's getting there. And that's pretty much the interior pattern. Okay, so now before we get going with the fill-in on the back side, we'll do some fuming. Get this heated up. Okay, got silver fume on that black frit. Now we're going to just start laying down clear backing. This is just the fill-in between the cone and the outside rounded body of the back side of the marble. So with our fall weather and kind of wrapping up the season, we've still got some pumpkins in the pumpkin patch, and we got tomatoes and peppers and stuff in the greenhouse, and some tomatoes and cucumbers outside that might still produce if the weather holds out. But the one that quite a few hours, over a couple of days to harvest is the hops. I grow 3 different varieties of hops for use in my brew house making beer. And it's kind of interesting through the years to see one or the other will create more of the hop flowers that we harvest. So this year There's the plant on the south side. Centennial is the variety. I only harvested probably a quarter of what was out there. That thing is crazy. Golding is the variety in the middle, and it really didn't produce much of anything, so I just kind of left it alone. And then Nugget is the other one we have on the north side of our little enclosure, which is actually just an old dog kennel. A little chain link fence kind of dog kennel thing. It's made a good little habitat for my hops. I string some cord across the top so they grow up either side and cross over to the other side. Anyway, the Nugget that would be on the north side, that got quite a bit off of that. I could have gotten more, but by the time I was harvesting that side, it actually was, quite a bit of it had gone a little too far. I've heard it described as, it's kind of like harvesting fruit. You really want to keep it on there until it's fully ripe, but once it's gone too far, it's falling apart is the problem. So what looks like pollen on the inside of the little flower cones, the yellow stuff in there is the active ingredient, if you will. And once the flower kind of opens up more, all that stuff shakes out. So you want the cones to be firm, squishy, hopefully hang on to their good stuff. And then we've got a big dehydrator that my mom had years ago. So we pick all those and then lay them out in the dryer for a couple days and then bag it up. And I got lots of good hops for making lots of batches of beer. So that's kind of a bunch of fussy work, but I really enjoy being able to make a few batches of beer each year and use our own homegrown hops. And some honey. I always add a little bit of honey because we have commercial hives out in the field between my house and my sister's house next door. And they pay us with honey. So those bees are still out there right now. They should be taken off pretty soon. So yeah, I'd be kind of curious if the cut ends do anything noticeable. So, rather than just using the stringer as you go, just tagging it down, cutting it loose with the flame. And on this piece, I tried modifying my positioning when I'm fuming. Instead of putting the metal bead trying to be right down on the end of one of the candles, I'm moving out into the flame a bit farther, and moving the piece out a bit farther. It's probably about enough glass there. I haven't done this a whole lot lately, but one of the things that I learned long ago with this Vortex thing is to let that clear glass fall. So you don't cover clear glass over the tip, over the colored tip. So glass is kind of funny when it comes to the barrier between two different kinds of glass, clear and colored glass. It won't just flow over it. You'll kind of keep separate territory. But by heating that end and letting it kind of drop, you can kind of pull out that point and build up more clear around the very end. So really sort of pinch that end. And that can really have a good effect on how deep your vortex looks. But by doing all that, you've kind of elongated the whole thing, so you can come back and let it round up a little bit more. Even after you come out of the fire, you can hold your piece up or down, and it'll continue to move a surprising amount. Alright, some pretty basic backing. I've got some Silver Strike 5 jet black and Jackpot, which isn't the greatest sparkle color on the outside, but I keep trying to use it now and again. Okay, that was Silver Strike 5, now we'll do Jet Black. So that gives us our high contrast combination. Okay. And then Jackpot. I guess this color, it seems kind of dark, or maybe in blown work it is a lot more effective, but the sparkles are somewhat muted because the base glass is kind of dark. It's supposed to be a bit more green colored. Melt all this in. Yeah, it's very, very pretty and peaceful outside right now. Sun streaming in, cool temperatures, fall colors. A lot of green. A lot of parts that are green too. Some of the hayfields and so on are looking very green. funny. Around here anyway, a little bit of rain and suddenly everything changes. It was brown yesterday and green today. Alright, I gotta wait for this to stop flopping around. Shoot. Let's see. clean up all the little scruffy spots. Hit this up and get it to kind of drop on the center. Got a little off kilter. Just do some gentle shaping. Okay. Alright. Well, I can see the other reason I don't use a jackpot on the back, because it, with this torch and the way I work and so on, it winds up reducing that glass into kind of a metallic oxidized mess. It's reduced though. So I kind of wish I hadn't used that. Just taking some time here to build up this front lens. Kind of slowly opening up that transition or circumference between the clear and the colored sides. Kind of bumping that up bigger and bigger. Kind of slow process, and you want to make it hurry up, but pushing and struggling with it is just going to make for other problems. Okay, out here with the roller. Give it a squeeze. Heat it up on the hot side. I could have done the roller again, I guess, but okay, now we're going to tear off the edge. and skim off the whole lens side. Okay, well, we'll try and push forward here. We're kind of horsing around with this, trying to get it to shape up. Okay, well, after a lot of struggles, getting there. Getting some of the effects that I was hoping for. See if we can get this marble finished up. Okay, let's get this front lens shaped up and smoothed out. Put in the marble mold gently on the back side. See the kind of concentric rings up at the front face. It's a little flat on the front, so we'll angle it down just a tad. Okay, we're nearly there. It's been a tough go here getting this finished out. And we have a color on the backside that's uncooperative. It makes finishing it out very difficult. So we'll just have to pretend that backside is exactly the way I wanted it. That glass all turned to kind of a rough silvery. Still got some metallic sparkle, I guess. So not everything goes quite the way you'd like it to in the torch shop. And sometimes painful lessons get learned over and over and over again. It's like I've seen this movie before. I'm not sure what inspired me to choose that color again. I know better. But the fume effects on the inside, I did get some of the different things I was looking for. I think we've got some nice colors. So that's pretty cool. I think the inside's pretty cool. Heal up our little punky mark. Okay, looking good. Well, we can call that a finished marble. No little struggles there. So we hung in there, got it done. This will go up on auction and somebody hopefully will get a very interesting marble. Alright, I think we're safe. Get in the kiln. Well, hey everybody, thanks for hanging out. We wish you all the very best as always. Be good, be kind, and we'll see you on another adventure back here in the torch shop hopefully another day. Take care.